Thank you for joining us this evening for the June 7th, 2023 Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission regular meeting. Before the meeting is called to order, I would like to point out a few house rules to assist the commissioners, staff, and members of the public to successfully participate in this meeting. For tonight's meeting, Zoom is being used to allow public participation with this Site and Architectural Commission meeting. For those using Zoom to participate, there are two icons, chat and raise hand. Please use chat only to report technical issues such as being unable to hear a commissioner speaking. Please use raise hand to be recognized by the chair and able to speak to the commission. Only attendees using the Zoom application can use the raise hand option to comment. Participants calling in from a telephone will only be able to listen and cannot provide any feedback or public comment. And lastly, when we are not all in the same room, all votes in the meeting must be taken by roll call.
All right, with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order the June 7th, 2023 meeting of the Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission. Ms. Gonzalez Andarica, would you like to call the roll, please?
Sorry, I don't have the list here.
Would someone else like to, or I can enter?
I can do that, thank you. Commissioner Conlon,
Here.
Commissioner Srivastava,
Yeah.
Commissioner White,
Present.
and Chair Zeidler.
Here.
And Commissioner Bella Subramanian is absent.
Okay, and let's proceed with orders of the day. First, we have a chance for members of the public to speak to anything not agendized. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. Do we have anyone online? There's no one here in chambers.
There are no raised hands.
Okay. Then I will close like public comment. Did we receive any oral or written communications in advance of the meeting?
We did not.
Okay. Then let's move to reviewing the minutes from the May meeting. Did everyone have a chance to look at those? And does anyone have any questions or comments? No? And there's no one on.
We do have some folks logged in.
Okay, and then is there any member of the public that would like to comment on May's meeting minutes?
There are no hands raised.
So, okay, then let's move to the first item.
So
First,
we want to go ahead and have a motion in a second.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'll second.
and we'll call vote, please.
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Srivastava,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Chair Zeidler.
Yes,
Thank you.
motion carries, and with that, Ms. Perkins, would you like to introduce the agenda item?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Chair Commissioners. I am Diana Perkins, the city's planner. And this application tonight is for a property located at the southwest corner of Davis Avenue and Winchester Boulevard. The property currently has a 6-foot high fence along Winchester Boulevard and Davis Avenue, as well as a 6-foot high driveway gate in the front yard. And those fences were approved in 2017. The application tonight is to increase the height of the fence along Winchester Boulevard to a total of 8 feet in height. The existing stucco fence would have an additional 2 feet added to it, 2 feet in height. And that 2 feet is proposed to be horizontal slats that would be dark gray and made of aluminum. The municipal code requires that a fence design permit be approved for properties that meet one of 6 location criteria. And this property is adjacent to Winchester Boulevard, so it does qualify for the criteria to apply for and receive a fence design permit. Staff recommends approval of the fence design permit as noted in the memorandum of decision. And this completes the staff report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Perkins?
I do. Sorry. I do. If the fence meets all of the fence design provisions in our code that we recently amended, is there any sort of architectural elements that we can comment on, or is this a more of an objective? It qualifies because it's adjacent to Winchester, across the street from a commercial property, and therefore it can be 8 feet, and we can't have any input in what it looks like. Sorry.
Trick question.
It is intended to be, but I think it's important.
I wondered the same.
So I would, if I could ask what types of changes would you be contemplating?
All right, we'll have to preview my
Sorry.
thoughts on this, but I don't think Karen would. I don't think this is very attractive. I don't like the two different fences. And we don't have a whole lot of entry points into Monte Sereno, but that corner is one. And having a fence that is a mixture of stucco and aluminum doesn't look very attractive from my perspective. And so I'm wondering whether those types of concerns are part of the overall consideration tonight.
Let me confirm the municipal code requirements.
Sorry, Dan.
That's okay.
Hit you with this before.
I have a separate question.
I don't know if you want to do an inaudible sidebar procedurally.
Start. Yeah, I get it.
Not to be a stinker, but.
Understood.
Just check one other thing. So the requirements from the municipal code, it states that a fence design permit shall be approved by the Site and Architectural Commission upon satisfaction of the following requirements. And the one requirement dealing with materials states that fence materials, fasteners, and finishes shall comply with all construction materials standards and any administrative guidelines kept on file with the city planning department. And for those standards, we refer to our objective design standards, and those only prohibit a chain link fence. So
Okay.
the materials would not be, in this case, would comply with that objective standard.
So the design is stucco and then the aluminum portion is on top of the stucco, right? As kind of like a layer.
Correct. And then the applicant would also be replacing their driveway, the fence across their driveway with 6 foot height, which is what they have existing, but with the same material.
And did the applicant submit like a drawing or something that makes it a little easier to visualize, or is it just the black and white sketch?
Just the plans that were provided or attached, yeah.
Is there a specification on the aluminum?
The applicant did provide those specifications, and they are on the Zoom call and can provide more details, but I do believe it was a powder coated aluminum in a dark gray.
Thickness, flimsy,
Maybe we can ask that.
Maybe when we ask the applicant to speak, they could kind of describe the construction. Because I was curious, because I drove by there and the concrete's already there, and I wondered if they're just sort of drilling in and adding.
Correct, it would be added on to the existing fence.
And has that existing fence been there a long time, or was that just step one of this design? Are they retrofitting it, or was this always the plan?
I believe they're retrofitting it. The existing fences were approved in 2017, before we had the fence design guidelines that allow for the 8 feet in height.
Okay. Any more questions? Oh, yeah.
So I have a question. So the increase in height is only on the side of Winchester, right?
Correct.
Not on these. So I'm just wondering visually, how is it gonna look like? It's 8 feet and then, and like, you know, that you were mentioning, it's a busy entry point. So just basically, 8 feet and then, the corner is 6 feet, so, yeah.
So on the second page of the plans that were provided, there is an elevation from along Winchester, and there is a grade change that happens along the property that as you come up to Dates Avenue, the grade increases, so the aluminum fence would kind of dive into the fence.
So even with the shorter height, it's flushed with the higher.
Correct. Eventually,
Okay. So we can bring the applicant on now. If the applicant's online and would like to speak, and the applicant is that one of the folks online?
Yeah.
And the applicant would have 5 minutes.
So I have two hands raised right now. Which one should I allow?
I don't know who wants to speak first.
The applicant and
great.
then members of the public. Correct.
Should I just don't know who the applicant, the name of the applicant, you know.
I think it's the applicant and the homeowners that are on.
Okay.
Hi, this is Sumati, and can you guys hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we live in the property in question, and we've been residents since 2014. So the original wall was built closer to 2015 or 2016 because as you residents know, there's a commercial property nearby, the PAMF, Winchester and Dave's. There's a lot of school traffic that passes by, a lot of traffic on Winchester that passes by. And we have 2 young kids, both girls, and we do value our privacy, our safety, and our security, for which we do want to request this fence addition. Recently, I know Mr. Mekichuk also increased his fence height about a year ago. And it's the same thing. It's along Winchester, very close to commercial properties. And for reasonable enjoyment of our home, approval, we are following the materials meet the requirements, the spec. So it's going to be added on top of the existing wall. It's going to be built out. The wall is a light gray in color, and we will be adding this on top with a slightly darker tone of gray. It will suit the theme of our house, which is going to be like a modern house. So I would like to request this committee to approve the fence permit. I don't see any reason why there should be any pushback. I know someone was asking about the aluminum slats and them not liking the way it looks, but I do believe that keeping in mind some sustainability and cost, this is one of the best options we could do. Also in keeping with the theme of a modern construction.
Thank you. Do you happen to have an image beyond what's provided to the city already?
No, would that help in, I mean, like, per my understanding, the code states that this needs to be approved, but with that, I just want to understand what purpose that would solve. If I had known earlier, I could have submitted some more images.
We sometimes ask for it, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's not a hard requirement. It's just a request if you happen to have it. Do commissioners have questions for the applicant?
I do. Am I interpreting these plans correctly to state that the width of the aluminum would be a mere 1/2 inch?
I'll ask my architect to answer that. Kui, are you on the call?
I've gone ahead and allowed them to speak. We should be able to.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. The spec on the width of the aluminum slats, I'm not too sure. I have to check with my architect. I was hoping he would be on this call to answer that question, but
He is. I went ahead and unmuted him. I don't know if he can hear us. Mr. Sun, can you hear us? Go ahead and speak, sir.
I wonder if you could type in the chat. I don't know if it's. Is it technical difficulty or it's not on? Went ahead and grabbed him.
Mr. Sun? Can you hear me? You're on mute. You're unmuted now. You can speak.
All right.
Do we have other questions?
I see two messages, are there two messages? Do you want to check?
No, there's no message.
Those are.
Yeah.
Outlook or something. Do we have any other questions not for the architect? I mean, that's really the core of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Someone else by Dinesh?
Yes, hi. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, I am also the homeowner. That was my wife previously speaking, Sumati. My name is Dinesh. So I just wanted to add on to what Sumati was saying. Obviously, we'll address the questions we had, some of you had with the, the specs, the thickness, the finish, and all of that stuff. As you know, we are building like a nice house, trying to do our best in building the best possible house in that property, and we are not really sparing any expenses to the best of our abilities. And we are definitely open to making this look as best as we can. We are proud residents of Monte Sereno, and we will be for a long, long time. My kids are going to grow up there. So if there are feedback and ideas on how to make this look better, what kind of specs you guys would like to see, I'm definitely open to addressing them. And as far as the quality of the construction goes, anybody can stop by the house and see the level of quality that we are ensuring that the house is built to. And we are not going to do anything worse or less with the fence as well. So I think I can guarantee that the quality is going to be great. But if there's ideas, thoughts, feedback on how to make this look better, definitely happy to hear them. And we will, if my architect is not able to unmute and answer, we can take this offline after the meeting. But I'm also happy to add any other images to the file to make it clearer for you guys. The one other thing I wanted to add was not a lot of people may know our property is actually a challenging, tricky one. The reason why we are asking for this 8 feet, apart from all the other reasons that Sumati mentioned, is if you can actually just stand at the gate and look at the fence, you'll see that majority of the side of Winchester, we only have 2 feet clearance from the inside of the house, just because the house sits at an elevation. So previously, before we started the construction, we had a secondary bamboo fence inside the property, obviously like set back way into the property, just so that we have the extra privacy. We, like Sumati said, we have 2 little girls, and we also had a Labrador at that time. So we didn't want them jumping off and having accidents and stuff like that. So we had that fence. But now that we're doing all this construction, we thought we'll just remove the bamboo fence, obviously, because it's eating like 6 feet into the house, into the yard, and utilize this 2 feet addition on Winchester. That would give us 4 feet from the inside, which I think would be good for us.
Were you by chance inspired in the design by another fence that you've seen in Monte Sereno, or was there something that was the inspiration for the design?
I actually, not really. I know I have been an inspiration for other people who have been doing gates and fences. I've got a lot of people dropping in mailers in my mailbox saying like they wanted to know where I bought my fence from, where I bought my gates from, all of that stuff. But most of our inspiration just comes from online, Florida, Los Angeles, that kind of homes, because it's going to be a similar look, modern, white house, with like wood, stone, that kind of finishes on the outside. So that's why the stucco wall with the warm aluminum look was what we preferred. We didn't want wood because of we didn't want to keep replacing and keep staining and all that stuff maintenance wise. Aluminum was what our contractor and architect had recommended.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Commissioner Conley?
Yeah, am I on? Yeah.
If it's lit, there you go.
You've got a landscape strip across the front of portions of that wall. Are you intending to landscape that?
Yes, I currently have landscape. Obviously, those plants have mostly died during the construction. We do plan to replace them with small shrubbery. Obviously, nothing too much water or maintenance intensive, but it will be kind of like desert landscape. But yeah, it won't be too big or too high. It will be what do you think? Like maybe 2 feet shrubs all along the entire wall. Basically the same like we've had all along. We will just replace them all with something nicer.
Well, on the exact corner, you have had a lot of color that's encroached onto the sidewalk a little bit. I'm wondering if that's the intention for the distance, or if you're going to have something that would climb up to counterbalance the intensity of the color of the wall.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question. Are you asking about the color of the wall?
Yeah, you're going to change the color of the wall, I understand.
No, I think the color matches the look of the proposed house. So it's a light gray. In most of the time of the day, it's going to look white. So we were not planning on changing that. Was there other? I mean, did we want us to change that to a different color for better look, or?
Well, I'm interested in what you want, but it seems to me that you could landscape that wall and it wouldn't be so obtrusive visually from all the people that travel up and down Winchester, and kind of disguise it because it becomes quite a long wall in there. The wood fences that are adjacent to it, while they're various, at least don't have the intensity of the stucco wall that you've got there. And I was thinking that if you were to put something up there that would be half the distance of the height of the wall, that might be a little more appealing.
So as you know, we do live in a desert landscape. We do want to be water friendly as well. If I understand what you're trying to say, it's kind of like you want us to hedge outside the wall to hide the wall, if that's if that understanding is correct. But we do want to be a little bit more friendly to the environment, hence the need to put in some small shrubbery, something that's not too water intensive and expensive to maintain in the long haul. And the wall also helps to serve as a good buffer on noise. I mean, for anyone who's passing down Winchester, right? Like if any of you guys have kids in Dave's, or if you do walk by that area, like if you do stand area, you can totally see how it kind of obstructs our privacy. And also the property is kind of at a downslope. So approaching Winchester towards North Santa Cruz, we do get a lot of car headlights beaming into the house because we do tend to sit at a lower elevation compared to the upslope of Winchester. So that's another consideration as well. So keeping in mind the environment, the fact that we're at a very busy intersection, wanting to stay in this house a long while, raise our kids there to enjoy our property, we do want to make that balance of putting in the slats on top of the existing wall. The wall wouldn't change in color, and I was able to look up the drawings. Actually, for the drawings submitted on the proposal, it says 1/2 inch for the slats, for the thickness of the slats. So just keeping in mind the sustainability, the cost, the overall aesthetics of the modern house, and the constraints from Winchester side and beaming headlights, the properties at an incline, all of that is leading to us requesting for this.
Okay,
I mean, I'm also having a hard time visualizing it because there's no image as such, but I'm just wondering that with an aluminum wall on the side, is there potential for like cars that are passing by to cause a glare, or I'm just wondering about.
Will it be a matte finish? Or shiny?
Matt,
I believe we have.
sorry, am I muted or am I not? Did you guys hear me?
Did you say matte?
Yes, okay, yeah, yeah.
Do we want to try one more time to have the
I
architect
think
speak?
he opened a different one, so I think he should be.
It might work.
Mr. Sun, you want to try?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Oh.
thank you. I switched my computer to my phone here. Regarding to the previous question, the decision to put that kind of material on it, because the configuration of the fan itself is a curved wall. And we look into design of this one, I prefer some kind of wood, and I talk to my client itself, and the wood should be stained to match the wall. But we come up with a new material, even though this is a metal, but you would not see that metal because the texture they put on it, just like wood itself. The only advantage of this one itself is the material can bend along the curve wall that we have right now. So basically it fit in perfectly. So the decision of what kind of material is not a subject in this because we think that it's just much like a normal wood, but it's easier and more economical way to put in there. And the color itself, we can choose any color. In this case, the gray, a little bit dark shade itself, must be a perfect gray of the fence right now. And the decision to put on 8 foot high there, which means we add 2 foot on the Winchester. You can see on the drawing itself, just the elevation from the beginning of Winchester, the fan of that is 386 foot. But when we turn around to Dale Avenue, the elevation of the fan itself 392. So the difference is 6 feet there. And in addition to that, the decision is a good decision because from the inside itself, some areas probably a little bit over 2 feet to the top of the existing fence, while the outside is about 6 foot. So if the kid itself leaned over because that's 36 inches, if they jump a little bit, they'll fall off to another 6 foot to outside on the street side. So I think that's dangerous. I think it's 2 foot is perfectly for this one and also match what the city allow in this case. And when we get close to the corner, that's where the fan turned really sharp and the elevations change significant, as you can see on sheet A2. So we let the fan run straight and die down to the point at that corner. So I think that's a perfectly fit in this case and material perfectly fit, not only just for the look, but for construction method as well.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for us?
I have one. Are you aware whether or not the aluminum railings or slats will oxidize or change in color over time?
Oh, I'm aware of that one. This one is I believe they are being treated for exterior use. And also that slate itself is not sit directly on the concrete itself. On the spec that I provided, they also mentioned that, and also all the hardware and the base plate itself also provided to construct that.
And is
So-
the base plate fastened into the top of the wall that's stucco?
That's correct. And that stucco wall, I understand they do have permit for that one. They get permit, that's a reinforced stucco wall, not just a plain stucco wall. So that's a structural stucco wall.
Bar in it or something like that, and the stucco.
Can you repeat that?
Oh, you mean the stucco wall has rebar or something giving it strength?
That's correct.
That's right.
That's correct. Uh-huh.
Do we have any members of the public on besides the applicant, architect, and such?
There's no one else.
I believe that my client already talked to the neighbor. The reason that's why I get a few calls from the neighbor ask me to provide them services, same thing. I think they did talk to the neighbor. There's 2 neighbors called to my office and wonder if I can give them, provide them service for that.
Okay. So I guess I'll close the comments from the applicant and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Who would like to go first? No. Steve, would you like to?
Sure, I've already.
Well,
I've heard an opinion, and I didn't hear anything tonight that dissuaded me from that. In fact, I'm so stronger about that opinion after hearing the applicants. They're gonna puncture the stucco. These fasteners are gonna be loose. It's gonna oxidize. I don't like the multi-material style fence. There's nothing anywhere in Monte Sereno like this. And I'm very disappointed to learn that the criteria by which we are required to evaluate this application, I think forces us to approve it because we can't play with some of the considerations that we get to in relationship to, say, a remodel or a new home where the property or the proposed improvements should meld well with all of the other structures in the community, and we don't have that circumstance here at all. In fact, I'm particularly disappointed that the location of this home is a gateway to Monte Sereno. It's, where you access the majority of homes off of Days Avenue. So everybody's going to be looking at this, that signal all the time. I don't have any problem with an 8-foot fence. I have a problem with this 8-foot fence. But if so, those are my thoughts.
In your personal view, I heard from the applicant that they were a little open to suggestions, considering them aesthetically. Do you have a suggestion that you would want them to consider regardless of whether we have to approve or not? Like extending the concrete rather than adding aluminum, or do you happen to have any idea in particular?
I don't have any idea in particular. If they made it uniform and raised the stucco, that may look good. I will note that, former Mayor Meckenchuck, who's has property adjoining this, and then just on the other side of Days along Winchester is a new fence, and they're all redwood fences. And if this was a redwood fence at 8 feet in height, I wouldn't have any issue with it whatsoever. I do appreciate their comments regarding noise. I know that is a real concern at that location. And I think Commissioner Connolly's points to them, although maybe not understood, were that landscaping may actually buffer some noise. And will make this fence look, I think, a lot nicer than what we see in the plan submitted.
I can't remember, I drove by there, but I can't remember exactly how much space, but there are just hordes of kids that walk there when they get out of Days. So whatever they do to landscape, they'll have to maintain visibility for safety. So I don't know, like creeping fig lays flat on a wall,
Yeah, or
Or-
vine or something.
there may be landscape options that maintain the privacy without blocking the view. And it does buffer sound considerably to have some greenery. Your thoughts?
I mean, I was just also thinking about, this being a precedence and eventually like seeing a row of homes with just aluminum all around Winchester. I actually concur with Mr. Connelly's comment, saying that if there is some kind of, shrubbery or greenery that could camouflage that. But again, I think we figure out what exactly are the constraints that
You could, if the commission would like, condition the fence on replacing of the landscaping that has not been there. You certainly could condition that the fence on re-landscaping the areas that have thinned out or have died.
I think that'd be appropriate for softening blood.
I think anything that can happen to lower the intensity of the stucco along there because it's non-conforming as it is to everything else along that street. And you just don't notice. You expect wood fences, but you don't expect that stucco fence to be there typically. And I agree with Commissioner White that it is an entryway and there's a lot of traffic on that, not just the schools, but the shortcut involved. Highway 9 to Winchester. And there have been, there to the extent that there are some concerns about the safety of the parts of that road, they're forming a little group to study that. I really think that I would condition it on having the landscaping there that buffers the appearance of that wall and the strength that it gives. You know, to the visibility of it, less prison-like and more serene, but it has to be maintained. They haven't maintained the piece of it from just past the stoplight almost to the end of the fence. And it hasn't been maintained for 2 or 3 years. And that's not the intention of landscape, it's to be attractively maintained, especially in a high visibility.
Would you like to make a motion to approve it with the landscaping provision? Would anyone like to make a motion? I will move, because it sounds like basically we're in a position to approve it if we feel that the materials are up to code and they are Ms. Perkins. So, I will move to approve the fence permit as submitted with the additional requirement that the landscaping, any dead landscaping be replaced and with live landscaping and maintained going forward. Someone like to second the motion?
I'd like to amend it.
Okay, let's hear it.
I would like the landscaping to have some elevation to it and flat to the wall, at least 6 feet high. So that you can take away, it doesn't have to be completely shrubbery all the way, but
Something that will climb the wall.
something that will climb the wall to take away the intensity of the wall. And I would be happy to let the city determine the satisfaction of that without having to come back here. But
Do you think that's a permissible motion and requirement? Okay,
Yes, I
yeah,
do.
okay. Would someone like to second Mr. Conley's motion as amended? Thank you. And Ms. Perkins, would you like to proceed with the vote?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Conley,
yes,
Commissioner Srivastava,
Yes, conditional approval.
Commissioner White,
Regrettably, yes, premised upon the advice given to us that we can't use any subjective criteria and evaluation.
Chair Zeidler,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you to the applicant for bearing with us to discuss the details, and good luck with your project. Okay, is there anything else not on the agenda that we needed to cover or anything? Okay, so with that, I'd like to adjourn the
I move to adjourn.
Second.
June 7th meeting of the Site and Architectural Commission. Good night.